Salut, c'est Marie de Just French It. Now, in this podcast, we are going to talk about French grammar. Wow, I know. More precisely though, I'm going to show you how you can learn French grammar fast because, I know that what you really want in the end is to speak French. It's not to learn grammar, right? It's not to, get your feet in grammar and, make a mess of your sentences. No. Especially with French grammar, you don't want to spend forever on it because it has the reputation to be one of the trickiest ones to learn. It's not entirely right, but there's truth in that. It's quite different from the English grammar, which if you are listening to this podcast right now, I'm assuming you are at least a bit familiar with. The French grammar is full of exceptions, and it sometimes feels like a never-ending game of guess which gender this word is. Feminine, masculine, I don't know. So if you have tried to learn French grammar before, you might be a bit stressed, a bit stressed about having to learn so much. A bit overwhelmed as well. But first thing first, I'm going to be super honest with you, and that's actually the first thing that you need to know if you want to learn French grammar fast, is that learning about grammar theory is definitely not mandatory. In fact, there are ways that you could avoid learning grammar altogether with techniques such as sentence mining that I describe in many of my videos, podcasts, and emails. So if you are following me since a while, you know what I'm talking about. But, learning about French grammar can be a good idea in some cases. Sometimes those techniques that I talk about don't work. So open your ears if you recognize yourself in one of those situations. First situation is if you are struggling with sentence structure, and this is a big one. When it's difficult for you to speak, to communicate in French because you don't know which order to put the words in a sentence, or you don't know how to conjugate your verbs, or you don't know, simply basic grammar things, then having a look at grammar is going to sort things out for you. Learning about French grammar is going to help you in this situation. It's going to help you figure out the answer to those questions and to finally be able to build sentences in French. It's all about finding the logic behind this. So that was the first case scenario. If you are struggling with sentence structure, if you are struggling with grammar and that you don't find a solution, then you should, check out French grammar. It's not that bad, really. The second case scenario where French grammar is going to help you is when you need to understand the mechanics to be confident. We're all very different. Our brains, they're not machines that work exactly the same way in each of us. We don't have all of us don't have the same brain. And it's very clear when you see the way some people remember things better when it's written or when it's said. Other people seem to need to move to be able to concentrate, when others, they can't stand a single noise when they are studying. And some of us, they're much better at concentrating when there's some music playing in the background or some kind of, background noise. And those are just tiny examples of how we are all so different when it comes to learning. So, if you're a person who needs to understand before they are confident enough to act, then starting with grammar is definitely for you. And there's no shame in that. Grammar, we'll talk about it later, is just mechanics. It's the way a language is used to communicate, so the order of the words, the way they change, why they change, verb, tenses, all of that are rules of some sort. So if you are the kind of person who needs to understand the rules before playing, then you need to start with grammar. That was the second scenario. Third and final example of situation in which you need to learn grammar is when you need structure to progress, because languages are a bit of a mess because they are changing all the time. They get influenced, and they vary a lot also depending on the person you are talking to. Is it a French person? Is it a French Canadian person? Is it someone from the north, from the south? And that can make, learning a bit messy. Luckily, there are some common rules on which you can base yourself. Grammar. Right. Not only is grammar sort of logical, so it's the perfect way to structure your learning. It's no wonder why most French courses are based on grammar, right? It's easy to check your progress, to assess your level, and to see what you have still to learn as well. So, 3 main situations in which you should check grammar first or come back to grammar. It's when you need structure, when you need logic, and when you have been struggling with grammar since a while. So if you recognize yourself in one of those situations, then I'm going to tell you how you can learn French grammar fast, right? The main trick is going to be to make it simple. You really don't want to overcomplicate things, If you need grammar right now, if you are a beginner or if you want to go back to grammar because there's some things that you haven't understood, there's going to be, terms and rules that you don't need to learn. And there's lots of them that you don't even need to be aware of right now. You wouldn't advise someone to start learning how to cook by learning all about cheese soufflé, for example, right? I mean, cheese soufflé is the stuff that you reserve for when you understand the basics of cooking, right? Have you ever tried to eat a badly made French cheese soufflé? I'm telling you, it's not that great. Well, it's the same thing with grammar. If it's too complicated too soon, I promise you it won't go well. You won't go on with learning because it'll be just too complicated, even if you have a step-by-step thing next to you, like a recipe. So, if you open a grammar book and that you don't understand half of the English words on the first page, then please close the damn thing. Make sure to understand what the terms that you are reading or hearing mean. The thing that you are using to learn grammar needs to be comprehensive, because you cannot build a house on bad foundations. If you don't know what an adjective is, and that the sentence that you are reading goes something like a superlative adjective immediately after a possessive drops its definite article. If you don't know what an adjective here means, then how are you supposed to understand the full sentence, right? So it can be sometimes hard to admit that, but put your ego aside and just admit that you don't know what an adjective is if you don't. It's as simple as that. And my third tip for you is going to get plenty of examples along the way. Even if you understand the rules and all the words that explains it, an example is just so much stronger. Having plenty of examples illustrating what the grammar point that you are learning, looks like in context, that's essential. Not only is it going to improve your understanding of the rule, but with examples, everything is just going to be much more memorable, right? We humans, complicated grammar is not what we tell ourselves at night before sleep. We tell ourselves stories, right? And it's just so much easier to remember, stories. And examples are just like mini stories. Plus, you get stories of some kind of entertainment, if you will, but you also get vocabulary from it. And that's another big pillar of learning a language and learning French in particular. So here's the thing. Where are you going to find all of that? How can you learn French grammar fast, or where are you going to find all of that? Well, your first reflex is probably going to be to find some sort of grammar book that is comprehensive enough and easy to use. But I've been looking for that sort of book since a long time, and I've truly looked for a good grammar book that is all those things I said before, so lots of examples and easy and comprehensive. I didn't find any that was satisfying. In fact, I really had high hopes with the last one that I ordered, because on the cover it said something like, comprehensive, easy to use, clear explanations. And turns out it was one of the worst ones I've ever read. If you remember this example I gave you, a superlative adjective immediately after a possessive drops its definite article. Well, this sentence is actually from a book that is not that bad. So I've had enough. I've truly had enough to order grammar books and to find one that was, satisfying. So to speed up your learning and to avoid me to buy yet another book to find the perfect one to recommend, I've created a course. It's called Cruelty-Free French Grammar, and it's everything that I've mentioned above. It's a video course, so you get pronunciation and grammar in the same place, and we are going to go through what you really need to know and not more than that. I don't want to overwhelm you. We won't talk about barbaric terms such as disjunctive pronouns, because you just simply don't need to know that. You'll see that I'm explaining everything plainly so that you don't need to use, your smartphone to understand what I'm talking about. My goal with this course, with Cruelty-Free French Grammar, is to give you structure and understanding of the basic rules of the French language. So we'll see where to place words in a sentence according to their grammatical goals, because that's really important, right? If you want to get yourself understood in French, you have to place the words in a certain way. How to make a sentence fluid and native sounding, because that's probably one of your goals as well. What actually is a preposition, an adjective, a noun, a verb, because that's definitely essential to you having a fluid and native sounding French. How to deal with the many exceptions of French, because that's kind of a pain in the ass. What tenses to use for specific purposes and how to use them. So we'll look at conjugation. And, overall, it's going to give you a view of the mechanics of the French language. Plus, as a bonus, I'm also available for you if you have any questions when you purchase the course. I don't need to tell you this, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is an especially affordable option to taking French classes in a language school, and it's actually especially with the offer that I'm going to give you in a minute, but if you buy French classes in a language school, it's going to be expensive for you. Or buying French grammar books after French grammar books is not going to be cheap either. So, and the mythical easy-to-use one, I have never seen it in all my years as a language teacher. I've never seen a really easy grammar book that is comprehensive for learners. So it's an especially affordable option for you. Plus, it's a video course, which means that the tone is conversational. It's not a book giving you big words. And I'm obviously available for you if you have any questions as well, so that doesn't come with the books. Because, you need to be super clear with yourself. You need to be honest. You need a solution. You need a solution to your grammar problems, because you feel uneasy when you need to speak French, because you are not sure about the most basic French sentence structure. And I've had many questions about that. Let alone, when you need to add a specific adjective. It gets complicated, right? So if you don't do anything about it, well, you will keep feeling bad when you try to speak French. You'll keep struggling to get yourself understood. You just won't get your point across, and you'll be frustrated. And in the end, and I've seen it many times, so I can assure you that this is happening. You'll end up quitting. And quitting is definitely not a solution, is it? Especially as French grammar is, not as complicated as what a lot of people are trying to make it sound, and especially not as complicated as what is written in a grammar book. But if you do something about your grammar right now, you'll be able to form sentences that make sense, not from sentences that you have heard before and just simply things that you repeat, even though that's a good solution as well, and that's what sentence mining is. But if you want to really get your point across, if you want to be someone that has a lot of personality in French as well, you need to know how to build sentences from scratch, and you'll be able to do that in just a week with words that you learn on your own, or with me as well. We are going to go back to the essence of the French language, the foundation you need to be able to build something on. And the real results of that, that's the first part of the results. But after the course, you'll start using this knowledge, and you won't even realize that you start to use this knowledge, because it'll be very natural for you to do it. And after a few months of doing that, of using this knowledge, of creating, correct sentences, you'll find yourself just much more confident and at ease when speaking or writing French. Because simply you won't be wondering where to place your adjectives anymore, or what tenses to use where, because you have this answer, you'll know that, and you'll know it deep inside. You won't even have to think about it anymore. So if you want to do that, and if this is the result that you are looking for, then, cruelty-free French grammar is definitely for you. And I'm going to talk to you about the offer, and I'm giving you this offer only for 48 hours. So this is something that you can only get if you are watching the video the day it is or the day after. After that, it's gone. This offer will be gone. And I'm feeling very generous today, and I'm giving you a 50% of the course. That means that you can get this course, these results, that you can be able to speak French naturally and, easily for half the price. But as I said, it's not an unlimited offer. This is only for 48 hours, so you need to take it now or tomorrow at the least. But I would advise you to start now so that you start getting results straight away. Everything is explained to you if you just click on the link in the description, or if you go to the Just French It School as well if you are already a student there. The course is accessible anywhere from your personal account on the Just French It School, and that you can access it from the Just French It School on your smartphone, your tablet, your computer, from any devices that you want really. You can take it on the go or do that at home. You are the master of where you are using this course. And actually, I won't go on so much about it because there's just more for you on the school. So click on the link if you are interested in the course, and I'll see you there.